Hello makers! Today's video tutorial is on this book nook made with the Tim Holtz Idea-ology Christmas 2024 line. And the tutorial today is going to be a little bit different because I actually started this with the Christmas Idea-ology 2023 line and I didn't finish it last year. And so there were enough crossovers from last year to this year that I was able to make some changes to it and finish it up for this year's release. So I'm so excited that it's finished. I absolutely love it. The inspiration was, of course, a Christmas alleyway in London. Have I ever been to London? No. Do I think this actually represents that? I have no idea because I've never been there, but I still love it and I hope that you do too. So today's video is starts out with me making part of it last year and then a long pause in between until I picked it up this year. So if there are a few kind of choppy edits, or if you think, wait, I'm sure there's some things missing there. Yes, there probably are. And I edited them out to make everything fit with the product for this year. So I hope all of that makes sense. And thank you for those of you who go ahead and watch and put up with all the crazy edits for this year. I hope that you find something helpful in today's tutorial that you can use in your own making and that will encourage you to put your Tim Holtz Idea-ology products to use. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get started making. And this make is a book nook, which I know you've already seen, but 2023, quite a year for me and my family. So we have been sick. So I did not get all the different book nooks for the different seasons and things like that made that I thought I was going to get made. However, this one that I've had planned for a while is the Christmas version. And I want it to be an avenue or a street of little shops and things like that in England. So what will you need? Well, you will need 2 small vignette trays. They come like this in a pack of 2, large and small. You need 2 of the small ones. Then you're going to need some backdrops. And of course, my alley has to have this amazing brick backdrop. Love, love, love it. Just like I loved the one from the Halloween backdrops. Absolutely love this one too. Now that brings me to, of course, I'm going to be using some of the amazing windows and doors that are part of the backdrops, part of the baseboards release packet. And so I love, love, love this, but see the problem? Here is how deep my book nook is. Here is how deep this is. I don't want to use the large trays because there are no books that are this tall in a bookshelf, right? This tall. So I'm already pushing it with this one. And so I've got to figure out a way to fit this shop, because I will be using this shop, how I can fit it in my book nook and make it work. I'll do it. I'm just not sure how yet. The other thing I'm going to be using is the smaller leaded panes for several of these. And so I think I'm going to put it behind like this. And this from last year, the pine twine. I mean, how perfect is this? So this all like covers things up. So if you have like pine twines going like this, like this, like this. Okay, this stuff was made for it, wasn't it? Isn't that perfect? And it covers up whatever's going on inside so that you have some lights kind of shining down, but you really don't have to see too much. And you can just have like a very small patterned paper behind it that would be like wallpaper or something like that. Also inside in the windows, I am not going to use the whole Santa. The Santas are too big. I am going to cut off like this one. I would cut the Santa sack portion. I would cut this out, fussy cut it out, and then you could have this, you know, just like that in the window, not with the tree, ignore the tree, but you have, you know, toys and presents and things like that are just kind of peeking through the window there. You can have a drum sitting there. You could even then, you know, when you cut off the tree, you can have part of the tree sticking up like that somewhere else. So see, you can just use bits and pieces, and it's where you position them in the window is what's going to matter. A couple of other things I'm going to have. Look at this guy. Amazing. He needs to be out in front of the toy shop. See, he's going to cover up stuff that's in there too. So see, you don't have to have a lot in the stores. Stuff out front's going to cover it. So if I have him next to a shop, or even like this, see, that would cover a whole side of the shop right there if he's standing next to the tree. Oh my goodness, so good. Let's just get started. I have no idea where it's going to go, but I'm super excited, and I hope I get this done for the live. If not, I hope you enjoy it afterwards. So let's get making. Well, like any good book nook, it starts off with my 2 small vignette trays, and I just usually grab one side and I start pulling and pulling until I get one side on each of the trays pulled off. And so it takes just a little bit of work, and then that's going to help me determine how wide my book nook is going to be. So you can see I'm kind of positioning them and trying to decide, is that going to be wide enough for me to be able to get the storefronts in there? And you can see I'm really having trouble figuring out how I'm going to fit this storefront into the book nook. So I set that aside, and then I started marking the halfway point on each of these and then cutting them with, these are some miter snips that I got off of Amazon. And so I always use those to cut the pieces. And now I'm going to be building the top and bottom with those sides that I cut off and then cut in half. So I just attach them to one side of the book nook. This happens to be the left side. And then I just held it together with one of those big paper clips, and then just put a little bit more collage medium on another side and attach it to the top, and then another clip. And then I usually set these aside and let them dry. And then I will add another piece until I get the top and bottom all completely glued together. So while that's drying, I usually go on to something else. And what I'm going to do now is I've decided that I want to kind of make this into a corner store. So I need to bend it on both sides of that center doorway. So I've marked with a pencil, and now I'm going through with my craft knife over and over, and I'm just carefully slicing. I don't want to cut all the way through. So I'm just really lightly scoring that and slicing through it, and then lightly, carefully bending and checking to see, how's that going to work? Is it going to, fit? Do I need to score both sides? And then I realize, oh, my collage medium's dry, so I'm adding another piece to the top and bottom with the clips, letting that dry. And then with book nooks and things, you kind of have to multitask and do things in between while they're drying. So now I'm going to the other side of the door, and I'm again lightly going down with my craft knife and making a cut, but I'm not cutting all the way through. And then I'm just gently bending it to try and make that corner storefront. And so I just continue to work with it. And now on the front with my poker tool, I'm kind of scoring it so that I can continue to bend it and get it shaped like I need it to. Now this is the red window, and I'm doing much the same. I'm going through, but I'm going to bend it the other way. So I'm not only cutting lightly down into this, but I'm cutting it kind of in a groove. I'm making a V-shaped groove where I'm cutting, and so you can see how I'm kind of slicing off parts with my craft knife, because I'm going to fold the sides in and make this like a window box. And so now I have my poker tool, and I was just kind of going through there, cleaning out some of that chipboard so that, see, I can bend it back and make a window box out of it. And so now I'm doing the other side. So start off lightly cutting, and then I'm going along, and you can see I'm cutting away from my fingers. And so I'm just lightly cutting some of that chipboard away, and then I get my poker tool and I clean it out. And so I just did this until I felt like I had a big enough groove that I could then bend both sides back and make that into a window box. And then I ended up cutting off the top two windows because I decided to use those as, you can see right there that I cut off the top two windows. I wanted to use those as kind of the apartment above this little shop. Now I have covered the entire back and all the way around each little window there with 1/8 of an inch score tape. And at the bottom there, I have red line tape, 1/4 inch red line tape. And so I'm attaching my pieces of the transparency behind both of the sides and behind the center part of this shop window. So it's just taking me a little while to take off all of those little score tape bits, and then I'm going to continue to put in, and I pre-cut the transparencies that came with the baseboards. So I have pre-cut all that, and I'm going to be sticking those on all 3 sides so that that's going to mimic the glass in my shop. I have the acetate in the windows, and I just put a little bit of paper from the cigar box behind this, and I painted this side so that if it lifts up, just in case anybody sees it, it's red on the back. And so I have this ready, and then this one, I have the bigger one. All right, so now I'm going to put some snow in just the bottom areas of all the windows and let it dry overnight while I sleep. Now I used my palette knife and my Distress Snowfall Grit Paste, and you can see that I'm kind of putting the Snowfall Grit Paste on the bottom left corner on this red window. And that's because I was thinking in my mind, if it was snowing and the wind was kind of blowing down the alleyway where this window's going to be, then it would probably pile up in one corner. And so that's why I kind of did that, to kind of mimic that the wind and the storm kind of blew through to the back of the alleyway. And then I know I'm working off camera on a lot of this, but hopefully you can see some of it. But you can see that I am putting it in the opposite, the bottom right window on this one. And that's because it's on the other side of the alley. And so I figured it would be blowing through to the other side on this one. All of the top and bottom pieces are glued together. So I have this side that will slip in underneath when we're finished, and when I am ready to, put it all together. So that will go last. I'm just going to go for it. All right, so I want to paint the top and make it look kind of wintry nighttime, since I'm going to have lights on. And then the bottom, I'm going to try and make cobblestone. So for the nighttime sky, I'm going with Uncharted Mariner, and I'll put in a little bit of black soot as well. So I'm just going to put some paint. And I need very little black soot for my night sky. Now you could mix this on your craft mat, but I just decided I would just mix it as I was brushing it on. So, do whatever works for you. So sometimes I get tired and it's late, and so I just do whatever is going to be fast to me. And so I felt like this was fast. All right, the sky is painted, and I'm just want to make sure it's completely dry before I put some stars on the top up there. So I'm going to paint the bottom where the cobblestone's going to go. So I have this stencil, THS086 from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. I use this a lot. So first I'm going to paint it with one of my favorites, which is Pumice Stone Distress Paint. Now this is one of the colors that is back from the vault for a limited time from Ranger Ink. There were quite a few of my favorite colors that were retired, and they did bring them back from the vault this year for a limited time, so you should stock up if any of them are your favorites. Pumice Stone was one of them. I just love this color for making statuaries and things like that. I've used Lost Shadow in place of this, and it's okay, but it's just not the same. This warm beigey stone color is just perfect. It's also perfect for making tombstones and mausoleums and things like that in Halloween makes. Just perfect for that. So off in 2023. So I left off with my Book Nook almost, the structure is pretty much ready to, keep going. However, I was really worried because I was going to try and cover the walls with brick, and I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to have enough. Well, this year's backdrops also has a piece of the brick paper, and so I'm really excited that I have two pieces. So yay for that. All right, so I have plenty to be able to cover my walls. Next is the baseboards, and the baseboards for this year have some great new additions. Absolutely love them. I'm not going to go over those right now because what I want to focus on are the ones that I'm using that are the same. So ones that are the same, this red window or door or whatever it is. So I took this last year, and a little bit of chipboard there. I took this last year and I actually cut it apart into two pieces. So one is going to be this section here that I'm using as a window, and you can see, and I am went over it in the tutorial, how I cut this and constructed it. So I did put some chipboard so that I could have enough, there's some Leota here, so that I could have a little shelf to put things in the window. And I think this is going to be my confectionery or my candy store. And then above it will be someone's flat where they're living. And so I put some little shutters, and I already have the snow on all of these, and it's all ready to go for, someone's little house that's above the confectionery. Then there was this piece in the baseboards last year, and actually I think it goes like this. And so this piece I had taken and also scored so that it could go like this and be kind of in like a corner piece in the alleyway that I'm making. So you can see that I have done that. I've added all of those leaded glass transparencies to both pieces, added my snowfall grit paste to both pieces, and now they're ready to decorate and attach to the walls. So those two are the same. All right, what else? Oh my goodness. I love these. It's probably a good thing that I didn't finish this last year, right? Because we didn't have these. So I'm so excited that I have lampposts, and I'm trying to figure out a way that I can light these up because I really want them to light up with everything else. All right, and last but not least, I have changed the papers that I am using for my sides of my book. So this is going to be one side, and then this will be the worn and tattered binding. Then this will be the worn and tattered center binding on the center book. And then this will be the other side of the book. And then either this or this for the worn and tattered binding. I'm kind of feeling like I'm leaning towards this one. So that's going to be for the binding and the sides of the book. I did color this guy because I thought he would look cool standing out in front of like a toy store or something like that. I haven't aged him yet. I only got the base painting done on him last year. I do, of course, have some confections that I would cut down to put in my confectionery. I love the stands that I can use this year that would go in any of the stores. Last year I had pulled this Santa and I was going to cut out the drum and some of these things that I could kind of stick in the window to look like, you know, toys and things like that. So I am still going to probably use this Santa and cut him up for things. And then there are all these in the Ephemera Pack. So the Santa's from the Layers Pack. From the Ephemera Pack, there's like, you know, all of these amazing addresses and all of that I just love those. Aren't those great? Even post office. There's the confectionery. So, and even this might look really cool across there. This is a Layers. It's a little thicker and a little more glossy. And then even this, you could put this like if you're selling a painting in the store. You could put a vase of poinsettias you're selling in the store. Thought this would look good, you know, tacked to a wall. And this could go on like a jar of confections or something like that. Okay. So, all right. So there we go. I think I caught you up. So I'm going to continue making and I'm going to invite you to come along with me and let's finish this up this year. Okay. All right. For this side that's going to have this, so I realized I had way more anticipation that I could fit more in this than I can. So this is going to be going kind of like this. And then I will have this kind of in front over here. And I think that that will allow me to light it up. However, I need this to be away from the wall a little bit. Just a little bit. And so in order to do that, I got out my balsa wood. So a couple years ago, I bought a big thing of balsa wood at Hobby Lobby. You can get this at different hobby stores, and it's got all different sizes and widths in here. I'll open it a little bit. So you can see there's all kinds of things. And I used this to make like my carts and things like that. So I pulled this out. I haven't used any of it in a while. And so one of these is probably going to last you the rest of your life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this in the brick paper. And then I'm going to put it this way, kind of so that it looks like a wall coming out. And then this one will go behind it and see how it's just thinner than this one. And so it will be just right for this to fit right into like that. Okay. So this is how it's going to go. It's this side of the book nook. And I have two that I have kind of wrapped up at the end. So I spent way too much time cutting out the front of these lampposts. So this one's going to go here, and I'm going to try and glue this. Let's see, it goes this way at the top, so it will look like that. Okay, I think that's cute, don't you? Now, that being said, I then wrapped some of my balsa wood pieces in brick paper. I have my hot glue gun out here, and I glued it like here and here where there are no lights, and it's just on the wire. Now this is going to stick on the side like this, and you can kind of see that I put one bigger piece and one little piece. You're not going to have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just showing you what I did. And this is going to be showing out the front like this, so that we kind of see a bit of a brick wall. And then it's depressed right here just enough that this should fit in it. And so I left a little room here for this to fit right on there. Okay. So that's pretty much how that's gonna go. Yeah. Okay. Like that. What do you think? I love it. Now, if you want to, can you see the top? Maybe I'll show it to you this way. So I have, I have some pieces of balsa wood at the bottom that are going to allow me to put glue and really attach it to the base and to the wall. And then this is a little shelf that I'm putting things on so that you can see it through the window that will be for sale. And then up here, I have some brick paper, and I had just actually put it around like this on all 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. But then I realized the light in the corner here was coming out the top, and it looked really weird. It's still going to come out the top some, but I went ahead and just kind of traced. I put the corner in there and just traced it out here, and then I cut it so that it will go back in there. Let's look at that. There we go. So see how it's kind of back in there and you really can't see much light coming up from there? And that will put all the light going down into the shop. So that's really what I was aiming for. And then I will just put, before I put the side on, I'm just going to smear a bunch of snow up there. Snow covers all kinds of mistakes. So if you have gaps or if things aren't quite working, that's okay. Snow will cover it up. All right. And then here is where this will come out like this, and then it's going to get stuck right back there. Isn't that cute? I love it. So anyway, this is one side. Okay. The other side I have to light up still. And I need to put some paper in here that will look like the inside of the shop. So that's what I'm going to do next is put paper in here for the inside of the shop. And I'm also going to add more things on the shelves here for my shop. And so I have some things that I've been getting ready, like the vase that I can put in there. I have the little drum. So I'm working on getting some stuff that I can put in there. I have another little tree I can put in there if I want. So we're good to go on those. And I did trim the back of the tree a bit so that it didn't stick out beyond the wall. So I already showed you the lights. Let's look at some of the details that are going inside that you really won't see a lot of, but I just always, when I make these book nooks, I like to know what's there. So I put the picture kind of on the back wall, and then I just stuck a couple of things over here. You really won't be able to see it because it's going to be like this. And so, if you kind of turn it, you might be able to get, a view. So that's why I wanted to have a few things as if they were on the wall. I've got a little tree there with some red baubles that I colored with crimson red, I think. What is it? Crimson alcohol ink. And then I did the foundry wax, gilded foundry wax on one of the metal stars, hot glue gun those in. I did trim the tree so it would fit into the corner behind this. And so now, again, you won't really be able to see it, but I just hot glue gunned the little doll, the little horn, and the little drum that were in the Santa's arms and bag that he had. I trimmed those out, and I have that flower. I stuck it on just with some chipboard that I folded into a triangle so I could stick it on that little shelf that I made. I have the tree here. I have a tree here. put a little bit of gilding on the door and the lock. I used a couple of those, I don't know, it's ephemera that have things on them. So this one wouldn't fit, so I cut off just the toys from the Christmas toys for girls and boys. And then it was something Gate Street London, and I just cut it apart so it says Gate Street London Toys. And then this will go on here. And remember, I have these to hold it out from the wall. I have these to hold it out from the wall, all from my little balsa wood. And so that's, in a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and attach this. And at the same time, I'm also attaching this. Oops. And I want the wire in front because you won't be able to see it. It's going to be right behind. I'm just going to pull it down so it's right behind that, and you really won't be able to see that. See? It'll be hidden. What do you think? I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to start gluing with collage medium and the glue gun and holding it in place. You can see that I have this kind of sticking out a little bit further. That's all right. I can still trim it off, but I wanted to be sure that it went all the way past the window in the back. So I didn't want to trim it until I had it put in place. And see, you can't really see the things that are on that wall, but because there will be a wall here, but just in case people are kind of peeking, I wanted to have it decorated. All right, so I'm gonna finish the side up. All right, well, this side is done. And so over here, I had just covered another piece of balsa wood. And so I just made sure that it fit with this side evenly on it before I glued it. You can see that there's a little bit of light that shows through here. I'm not worried about that. And so before I get it closed, just wanted you to be able to see in there, kind of, there's some of the toys, little tree, the stuff that I put on the wall, the other little tree, the vase, tree, and then that picture, the words. We've got both of these pieces of balsa wood covered in the brick. And then this is some of the pine twine that was in the line several years ago. And it's the perfect size to go around these trees. So I have it hot glue gunned in place, but you can see just behind it where the wire's coming out and going through in there. And then that extra light is right there. And then the rest of them are up in here, as you saw, and it comes out the back. It will come down here, and then it will be attached on the bottom. Okay. Now this side, and I may put this right here. I'm kind of trying to decide where this is going, or if I'm even going to use it. Now, when I come back, I'm actually going to be taking my, let me find it, my palette knife and my grit paste snowfall, and I'm going to be scooping it out, and I'm going to be pressing it down all along here to make snowdrifts, because there should be snowdrifts all around here. I'll put a little snow on this, a little snow on this. I'm going to put some more snow up here. Let's look at the other side. Okay, so the other side, I put the brick 8 inches up. And I think this is about 5 inches wide. So I did the brick all the way across. I put the window up here, and it's closer to the front, and the confectionery sign closer to the front than here. And I messed up when I put the confectionery sign down. I pulled it up and it ripped the paper. So I just cut out some bricks from a little extra piece, and I glued them in place, and I don't really think you'll be able to see it. Now this one, I'm still working on it, but you can see that I put some jars in there. I have some of the tiny corked vials, and I took one candy cane and two of these green ones, and I just used my X-Acto knife or my craft knife. I don't know where anything is right now. And here it is. So I just took it, and against my craft mat, I just sliced little pieces, the whole candy cane and 2 of these, and I put them in the tiny vials. And one of them I put a little sticker on right here. So this one has the green. Put a little sticker on it. I put 3 of these little round candies in there. And then the other tiny jar that has, the other tiny jar that has the peppermints in it. Okay. So I can actually, there you go, see? Now, I also put 3 of these in there, just so that there was plenty of candy. And this is one of the collage strips, the large collage strips, and then I added a piece of ephemera in the middle of this one. And so that will go onto the wall under the confectionery. But to get it to light up, here's what I've done. And this was not easy. But so I've painted this black, and you can see that the light is still showing through a little bit, so that when this is on here, it's going to show through those lights. So I'm going to have to put another couple of coats, and this has come up, so I'm going to have to glue this down again. But I hot glue gunned it in place on the back of the stand, and I'm still going to go around it with the green pine twine. So I will go around it just like I did this one over here. And then I wrapped 3, and I glued it here on the wire and here on the wire. And then I pulled it out, and I just put it around. I just wrapped it around this, I don't know, pieces of chipboard. And I fit these in. I'm going to put like roofing across this. So I just made kind of like a little roof shape. So this is going to go one side that didn't have anything. So I'll put the hot glue, and I will glue it to the roof like that. And then I can attach it to the wall, and then I can hot glue this in place. And then this will be painted black, and it's just going to go out the back with this wire, and it will be attached underneath. I hope that makes sense. That's the best I can do to explain how I'm doing the lighting for this one, okay?
All right, now it's time to work on the outside of the book nook. So I start by trimming 1/4-inch strips of chipboard. And so I need quite a few of these to make the side binding, and then to make kind of the sides of the what would be the book cover. And then I also need large pieces for the back to be the 3 books. So I'm measuring this piece to make sure it's wide enough so that I can get my strips. And then I cut that into 3 pieces. And so what you see here are the 3 pieces. And then I cut some chipboard pieces that were the same length, but they were about a quarter of an inch to a half an inch smaller, and I am layering those. So that piece had about 4 layers of chipboard, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And now I'm using some red line tape because this is just heavy craft heavy stock, and I'm going to just attach the craft stock around that bunch of chipboard. And what it's going to do is it's going to make a book binding that is kind of arched, so it looks like the back of a book. See how that's kind of shaped like a book now? And so now I'm just going to attach some strips of chipboard across in different widths. So that's a half-inch strip and a quarter-inch strip. And so I'm putting the half-inch strip at the bottom and at the top, and then closer to the middle, I'm putting the quarter-inch strips, and that's just going to add some binding detail that old books often have. And so that will just add that. So these are going to be covered by that patterned paper in a little while. And so you're not going to, see any imperfections or anything, like how right here, how the chipboard separated. So I'm having to add a little bit more tape to make sure that it sticks down, but you're not going to see any of the imperfections. You just want some basic shapes, and then we'll cover it with the patterned paper, and that will make it look like an old, worn book binding. And I'm making 3 of these. So all the pieces of chipboard to the right are the other 2 book bindings that are going to make the whole back of the book nook, so that it looks like there's 3 books kind of sitting together on a bookshelf if you have the back facing out. So this is a thin book. So I think this one was about 3/4 of an inch, and then I just added 3 pieces on top of each other, each getting smaller. And I'm going to put some craft stock around it again to make it so that it kind of curves outward like a book binding would. So there I'm sticking it down, and I have the widest part facing up because that's going to be attached to the back of the book nook. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm using the red line tape to attach the craft stock to the back of it. And there's the other side. So when I flip it over, it will be curved, and it will be like a thin book. So there we have a curved thin book binding. And then I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other one. I'm going to put some quarter-inch pieces across that. And you can do as many as you want. I think I might have done 3 on this one. I can't remember. And then the pieces that are to the right are the last book binding. It looks like it's about a half an inch wide, and then the other pieces again get smaller, incrementally smaller, to build up that book binding. So I think you get the idea. I can continue letting you watch this, but I'm pretty sure you get the idea. So you can do one big book binding, or you can do like I did, make it into 2 or 3, whatever you want, as you would look at it on the shelf. So here's that third one. And again, getting incrementally smaller so that it will bow outward once you get that craft stock on. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward to covering it with paper and a few other things. Before I attach the bindings, I need to add a few more details. So one of those is the side of the binding usually kind of goes out a little bit. And so on the back edge, go ahead and add a piece of quarter-inch chipboard so you can see the back has the wires coming out, and along both back sides I am adding this quarter-inch piece of chipboard all along there, and so that will kind of help it look like it's the side of the binding on the book. And so it's just a little detail I always like to add. Now, you're going to take the rest of the 1/4 inch strips and you're going to build up the sides. And you really just want 2 pieces of this 1/4 inch chipboard uh, to kind of add the edge of the what will be the book cover. So you need this on both sides. So you can see I'm adding 1 piece of chipboard to each side, and I'm just kind of rounding it around the top. Now on this side, I realized that this is the side that I added back in, and it ended up being just a smidge too narrow. So I had to add an extra piece right there to even it out. But normally you wouldn't have to do that. So I'm just kind of letting you know what I was doing there. I was leveling it out. So this would be the normal 1 piece that's going across, and I usually take that and I go all the way down. Now on the bottom, I add usually 4 to 6 pieces, but across the top I only want 2. So here's my second piece. It's going across and then down the front. So that's all I add on the top and across the front are the 2 1/4 inch pieces. And then on the bottom, I usually have to add 4 or 5 strips because I need it to be raised up enough that I can put the batteries down there on the bottom. And so I need enough room. Now, once I have those pieces there, I want to go ahead and start putting the paper for the cover. And so you want a nice amount of distress collage medium. And I use my bone folder a lot because you're kind of softening the paper up with the collage medium and the bone folder. And I want it to go over that chipboard, the 2 pieces of chipboard on the top. And then if you have any excess, you can cut it off with your craft knife. And then I usually trim the corner and then add more collage medium and just keep folding over those pieces of chipboard that you put there to be the edge of the book cover. And so use that bone folder, use your fingers, go ahead and fold it in, crease it, make sure that it's really sticking down to the side so that it looks like a book cover that's kind of covering all the way there. And then I usually just fold the corners in on itself. And then you can see the back end isn't covered yet. I'm just doing the front parts of the book nook. We'll take care of the back part of the binding later. So this side I'm doing the same thing, putting a bunch of distress collage medium. I've got my bone folder and I'm then folding that paper over again across the top onto that chipboard lip that I put on there, the 2 pieces of chipboard, and folding it over and then trimming those corners and folding them in on themselves, covering up all that little chipboard lip. Sometimes you have to go back over it several times. That's why you see me going back over with the bone folder. I'm making sure that it's really making contact and that I'm getting those edges to stay down. And then here I go on the front edge, trimming those corners and then really working that paper down to make sure that it covers that bit of chipboard lip that I put on earlier. Okay, now I'm going to try and explain the bottom. So you can see me here putting a stack of 1/4 inch chipboard pieces. And so usually I stack together 4 or 5, just depends on how much I need, pieces of chipboard, and I make little feet at the bottom. And mine fell off because I was in a hurry and I was trying to get this in the mail. And you know how it is when you're in a hurry, right? It never works. Things are always going wrong. And so that was what I was facing the day I was finishing this. But what I usually do is put those pieces of chipboard so that it raises the bottom up just enough that I can fit those. You can see both of the battery packs for the tiny lights. are stuck underneath. And so I just need it raised up just enough for that the battery packs so I can hide those. And then usually I don't have enough paper. The paper isn't long enough to go all the way around the top and the bottom when I raise the bottom up. So I make sure that my paper is long enough to at least make it to the bottom, and then I can kind of piece together any leftover little strips that I have of my paper and cover the rest of that bottom piece. All right, now let's get back to that binding. So we we got all of our pieces covered with the craft stock and got the details on. And then this is how you do it. So this is going to be one binding. I'm attaching one side of the paper with red line tape, and then I flipped it over and I'm putting a nice layer of distressed collage medium all over that book binding and onto the paper. So that's going to soften my paper up. And so I want it to be softened, and then I get out that bone folder, and I really want to work the paper onto the craft stock. And in between all of those details, I really want to push the paper down in between those details and crease along the sides of them so that they stand out. Now, they'll stand out somewhat, and you know what? Your paper also might tear a little bit on this. Don't freak out if it does. It's completely fine. It will be covered up. But now I'm putting the Distress Collage Medium on the back of the Book Nook, and I'm putting Distress Collage Medium all over onto the paper that's going toward the right. That's going to go onto the book cover so that you know how bindings kind of go all the way around, sometimes onto the cover. So that's what that paper's doing right there. It's going to go onto the cover right there. And then you just work it into that 1/4 inch strip that I put along the back of the binding, and then curl in the top on the binding part that you put, and then I usually curl in the tops onto themselves so that they look like the top of a book binding. Now, once you have it all put together, you want to do the aging. And before you can put any distress crayons on, you need to put a layer of distress collage medium all over the paper on the outside. So that's what I'm doing here. I just brush a layer on, and then I use my hands and I smooth it out and work it in, and then I dry it with my heat tool. Now this top is just texture paste that I just ran a toothbrush through on some paper and made it look like book pages, and then I just glued that onto the top of the book nook. So I'm sealing that also, and all of those edges, and you can see on the bindings where I curled the tops in on themselves to make them look like the top of book binding that has curled in over the years. So I put a layer of collage medium on all of that as well. The collage medium goes on all of it because those distress crayons really, when you rub them in with your fingers and a brush and all of that, it's going to cover up any little areas there where you might be thinking, oh, that doesn't look so great right now. It's okay. The distress collage or the distress collage medium and the distress crayons will cover up a bunch of mistakes. Now, I know this is really fast, but it's just me again putting another layer all over all 3 bindings on the back with the brush and then rubbing it all in with my fingers. I'm trying to get it down in between all of those details that I put on with the chipboard. And I really want to make sure that I get any of the raw pieces covered where it might have torn when I was working it in between all those pieces of chipboard. And then I'm drying it, and then I make a mistake right here. So I want to show you, don't worry if you're in a hurry like I was, and we've already talked about how mistakes keep happening, right? So I'm going to make one right now. I got my finger stuck to the edge, and there you can see I ripped off some of the paper. And so I just got my brush out and I put a layer of collage medium on this side since I was missing it. And then while I was at it and had the brush out, I just went over that area with some collage medium because I know I can cover that mistake up with my distress crayons and nobody will know it even happened. Now at this point I was in a huge hurry and this is all I got taped of the tutorial.
All right, makers, I have got to get this in the mail, but I wanted to show you the finished product really quickly. And then I will have some photos of it. There we go. And then when it's not Christmas, you can have these books facing out. There you go. Love it. So much detail. I'll try to get some photos posted here afterwards. Anyway, there's my book nook. Thanks for following along. And here is that finished product. And as you know, it has already been to Tim. It's already been in, it was in the live months ago. And so here is the final product. So let's first talk about the outside. So the outside that I finished, the fake book pages, and then the fake cover of the one side of the book, the three book covers, and then over here, the other side of the book. I just really love these worn plaid papers. I think they go so well, and it really looks like these books have been on the shelf for years, right? Then there's the detail here with the chipboard and things like that. Just love that. And if you wanted, as always, you could stamp or use die cuts or something like that and put titles on these, which would be wonderful. But you also could leave this out without the titles on, or if they were just general titles, this could stay out all year. And then you could just turn it around when it was Christmas. Or if you wanted it to be particularly Christmas, you could put Christmas titles. Now on the inside, it does light up. So I have my 2 battery packs on the bottom. And I have the one window. Let's see what you can see there. And I'll put in some still photos that I took while I was making, and also at the end. So I have lots of confections in there and some little jars, tiny vials of confections and things like that. I've got the roof with the snowfall grip paste. This is the older pine twine that I did use, and then one of the layers down here with the holly to cover up kind of some of the bottom area. Love that brick paper. I've got, and this window, of course, I cut, and so I have the top one up here. Got that confectionery sign. The Joyous Christmas piece of baseboard does a great job kind of covering up a lot of that winter sky up at the top. Way back in the corner, you can see that I have one of the figure stands with the, that's got the deer on it back there. And then I have a little bit more pine twine. You could also use the garlands and kind of trim it down and put that across the top if you'd like. I cut apart some of the words and put those across the top with Gate, Street, Toys, and London. And then again, I'll put in some photos of the things that are in the window in the back. And then we've got our Psalter and the baseboard light stand, street light, and then all the snow that's in the back. And of course, the brickwork here that is on that balsa wood, and our cobblestones at the bottom. So I think it just turned out wonderfully. I absolutely love this wintry scene and think it's going to just be absolutely beautiful in a book nook area on my bookshelf. So I want to thank you so much for following along with this kind of unorthodox, different tutorial this year, and so appreciate your support and for following along. And as always, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave those in the comment section. I'm happy to try and answer them to the best of my ability. If you want any of the things that I used to make this, I have links to those in the description for today's video, and I know that there's most of the stuff is still widely available if you don't already have it. All right, so again, thank you so much, and I want to wish you a very happy holiday season.